She thought calling the cops on a 12-year-old black boy would be harmless. She had no idea who his father was, or what was coming next. "Yes, officers. There's a black kid here causing trouble in the neighborhood." Those words didn't just float in the air, they detonated like a silent alarm. Moments later, the scream of police sirens shattered the quiet of Magnolia Lane. Flashing red and blue lights tore through the calm evening like a warning shot. "Put your hands where we can see them." Officer Jennings's voice cracked through the dusk with the kind of force reserved for criminals, but all he saw was Jalen, a young black boy, now frozen, wide-eyed, and confused. The basketball he had been playing with slipped from his fingers, bounced once, then rolled into silence. Standing just a few yards away, with cold certainty in her eyes, was Madeline Cartwright, 45, privileged and dangerous. In her matching designer workout set, she looked like any suburban mom, but her outstretched finger pointed like a weapon of war. She accused 9-year-old Jalen Carter, a child in a jersey and sneakers, of being a threat. Jalen slowly raised his arms. Not because he was guilty, because he had been taught. Move slow. Don't talk back. Don't give them a reason. But what happened next would expose a truth Madeline never expected, and a lie she couldn't control. Jalen had made a single phone call. One call that would summon someone with the power to tear apart every false assumption, every racist whisper, and every mask Madeline had ever worn. What would unfold on Magnolia Lane that night would shatter lives, awaken a neighborhood, and remind the world. Being black in America can turn a game of basketball into a matter of survival. If you believe in justice, hit that subscribe button. Type "justice" and your country in the comments, because this story, it's just getting started. But to understand what really went down that night, we need to go back. Back to the moment Jalen Carter first set foot on Magnolia Lane. Unaware he had just entered a battlefield masked as a neighborhood. He had moved in just weeks earlier, with his mother, Dr. Samira Carter, one of the most respected pediatric surgeons in the state. They came to live with Grandma Eloise, warm, loving, and the soul of house number 133. It wasn't a mansion, but it was home, with a long driveway perfect for basketball and a porch where love practically poured from the windows. Jalen wasn't just any 9-year-old. He was the kind of kid who said, "Yes, ma'am," held doors for neighbors, and helped carry groceries without being asked. He dreamed of the NBA. He kept his grades perfect. And his smile? It had that magic, the kind that made strangers soften. But there was something different about Jalen's family. Something secret. His father? Always in a suit. Always gone before sunrise. Jalen only knew. He works for the government. It's important. That's all I can say. What Jalen didn't know was that his father's government job would soon flip this story upside down. Just 4 houses away, behind camera-lined fences and garden gnomes, lived Madeline Cartwright. To most, she was just another rich, suburban mom. But in reality, she was a self-appointed gatekeeper, a neighborhood dictator in yoga pants. Madeline had crowned herself protector of peace, but what she really protected was a fantasy of perfection that didn't include families like Jalen's. Her husband, Carter Cartwright, was too busy flying to investment meetings to notice. Her teenage twins, Savannah and Grant, were so embarrassed by her rants they snuck friends in through the back fence. But Madeline didn't care. She had a mission. Each morning, she checked her Ring cameras like a military general scanning for intruders. Then she stormed into neighborhood Facebook groups and watchful neighbor apps, ready to file complaints, post accusations, and stir up fear. What others called community involvement, Madeline turned into surveillance warfare. On the streets, 2 officers prowled who were far more dangerous than they looked. Officer Kevin Blake and Officer Damon Holt, partners in uniform and prejudice. Their record was a graveyard of ignored complaints, excessive force, and routine stops that weren't so routine if you were black or brown. To them, Magnolia Lane was their playground, and every complaint from people like Madeline was a golden ticket to control. Jalen didn't know any of this. In his first week, he was just being a kid, shooting hoops, riding his bike, saying hi to dog walkers. Some neighbors smiled, others waved. But Madeline, she watched him like a hawk sizing up prey. A basketball bounce. She called it loitering. A walk to the corner shop? Suspicious. A laugh too loud. Threatening. By Friday, she sent her first HOA complaint. Subject line, Unfamiliar minor possibly scouting homes. Vincent Lee, the HOA president, almost laughed when he read it. A 9-year-old? Scouting homes? He rolled his eyes and filed it under ridiculous. But Madeline wasn't done. Week 2. It got darker. Jalen got a new basketball for his birthday. He loved it. It felt like freedom. But to Madeline, the bouncing was a threat. She called the police. Her voice shook with false panic. I hear banging, possibly gunfire. I'm scared. When the officer arrived and saw Jalen, sweaty from playing, standing beside his grandmother, he realized the lie. He apologized, said there was a misunderstanding. But the report was logged. And for Madeline, that was enough, a seed planted. By week 3, her posts on the Watchful Neighbor app became venomous. Gang presence suspected. Drug activity near school. Unknown male lurking. She never named Jalen. But everyone knew who she meant. The jersey. The ball. The skin color. She was building a digital case, not based on truth, but fear. And it was working. Some neighbors stayed quiet. Others joined her. A whisper campaign of racism masked as concern. But this wasn't panic. This was strategy. Every call. Every post. Every false smile. Madeline was laying a trap. And soon, the police would spring it. The officers had no idea what storm they had just stepped into. Because Jalen Carter wasn't just any black kid with a basketball. He was the son of Deputy Director Avery Carter, one of the most respected, high-ranking officials in the State Bureau of Investigations. The moment his father's phone rang that evening, he didn't panic. He got in his government-issued black SUV and drove straight to the scene with calm precision. And when he arrived on Magnolia Lane, no sirens, no yelling, just presence. The air shifted. He stepped out in a dark navy suit, badge clipped to his belt, and eyes like steel. The neighbors stared. The officers stiffened. Even Madeline's fake concern flickered. He didn't shout. He didn't argue. He simply walked to his son, knelt beside him, and said, "Are you okay?" Jalen nodded, tears still on his cheeks. Deputy Carter stood, turned to the officers, and asked one simple question. "Which one of you put your hands on my son?" Officer Blake swallowed. Officer Holt looked away. But Deputy Carter wasn't here for apologies. He was here for accountability. "I want badge numbers. Now." They hesitated. He pulled out his phone and pressed record. "I'm officially documenting this interaction as Deputy Director of the SBI. You detained a minor with no cause, used aggressive force, and failed to verify a report before escalating. That's a violation of protocol and civil rights." Suddenly, the tough guys weren't so tough. Because now, they were being watched. Meanwhile, Madeline tried to slink back to her porch, hoping no one noticed. But Deputy Carter wasn't done. He turned to her and said, "You made the call?" She froze. "I thought he was." "Did you see him commit a crime?" "No, but..." "Did he threaten you?" "I felt unsafe." "You felt unsafe from a 9-year-old dribbling a basketball in his own driveway." The silence was suffocating. The neighbors who once nodded along with her posts now looked away in shame. Some even pulled out phones. Because finally, the curtain was being pulled back. But Deputy Carter didn't need revenge. He believed in justice. So he filed the official report. He had body cam footage pulled. And within 72 hours, both officers were placed on unpaid leave pending investigation. The Watchful Neighbor app suddenly flooded with posts defending Jalen, apologizing, condemning the bias. Madeline's perfect image? Cracked. Sponsors dropped her wellness blog. Her HOA status revoked. And for once, she was the one being watched. But for Jalen, life didn't go back to normal. Because it never should have happened in the first place. He didn't ask for this spotlight. He just wanted to be a kid. But that night, his story sparked something. Conversations at dinner tables. School assemblies. A community waking up. And as Deputy Carter tucked his son in days later, he said, "You changed something, Jay, just by being you. I'm proud of you." And Jalen? He just smiled and whispered, "Can I go play ball tomorrow?" His father nodded. And in that quiet moment, healing began, not just for them, but for all of us. If that moment gave you chills, hit that like button. Drop a comment. Tell us how this made you feel. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the bell icon. Because the next story might just hit harder.